Alors bonjour et bienvenue à un experiment by Sylly. I wanted to go back to Montreal by Night because I read it a few years ago and I want to go through it again to refresh my memory and maybe learn some new things. And I wanted to also, why not, start to read the book and record it to make it an audiobook because I couldn't find it on YouTube at all. And so I'm probably not gonna do many pages at the same time in one shot because I don't think I would be able to read that much. There's 129 pages, so I'm probably gonna do like one or two or three to start with, just to see how it goes, because I don't want to go forever and finally realize that it's not working well enough. And so I'm really doing that in an as usual way of just a few strings tied together and see how it works. Um, I don't really remember most of it, so I'm gonna start and we'll see how it goes. It's gonna it's gonna be a good way for me first to practice. Oh, you're not gonna see me if I put my face in front of the light. So to test that kind of stuff, what is okay to do? Should I put some more light? Should I do it at night? Should I do it during the day? Should I do it at a desk or like right now in my bed? um, but yeah, it's all those things that I want to test and learn from my mistakes. Um, and yeah, I'm not even sure what it looks like right now because I can't really check because I'm using my phone for the light. And I thought the look was looking kind of cool and a bit creepy. So we'll go with that and I'll see if I do. Oops. What I need to improve for next time. So, welcome to Montreal by Night. As you know, it is part of the Vampire the Masquerade lore, and it's the setup for Vampire le Fruit Defendu that I'm slowly building. So that's for all those reasons that I want to go back in there and try something new, and why not do a bit of storytelling and practice my reading at the same time, especially in a foreign language. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. We'll play it by ear. But obviously, English is not my first language, so be kind. Um, and maybe I'm gonna switch back to French sometimes if I have some specific comments or if yeah, I struggle to switch back to French because I've been living in Australia for 10 years, so it's kind of a bit weird, but my English obviously is not perfect. Anyway, let's see how it goes. So, welcome to Montreal by Night, city of 1,000 steeples. Welcome to Montreal, an allowed shrine of our most glorious Sabbath. We are so glad you came. Walk our catacombs in search of blasphemous knowledge. Enjoy all manner and titillating diversions with our deliciously putrescence. Sorry. See, it's kind of that kind of words are probably gonna fuck me up. Putrescent toy. And forget that language barrier nonsense. We'd be delighted to hear you scream for mercy in English or French. So, small interlude. That's exactly like I can't even remember that. And I think my idea and my setup of mixing French and English in Vampire le Fruit Defendu was from before that. But yeah, it makes total sense. And so I'm kind of surprised and glad they actually mention it and highlight it in the first few lines. City of Black Miracles. Montreal by Night is the latest in the series of By Night books. For Vampire the Masquerade, however, this book is unique because it's also the next in the Black Dog series. Montreal belongs to the Sabbath. We just could not do justice to the enemies of the Camarilla in any other way. So head north if you dare and don't eat the red snow. Montreal by Night features the first combination Sabbath, Black Dog, and By Night book ever. A dark treat for every Vampire the Masquerade player and storyteller. I'm not sure what the Black Dog series are or is. Anyway, new information on the Sabbath Inquisition and a brand new path to follow. A complex city setting to play with. How long does it take to destroy a place? Black Dog. I'll have to research that. That would be interesting. Montreal by Night, The Litany of Blood, by Philip Bull, Joshua Mosquet-Hachem, and Lucien Soulban. Don't be upset if I didn't say your name right. Let's move on. Ooh. Can you see the bigger picture? Yep, that's pretty much it. Oof. Whoa. Sorry. I'm not a storyteller. I'm quite usually quite shy in front of a camera and especially in English. So I'm probably gonna awkwardly laugh because my nerves are being titillated. Why all the saints and sages who discussed of the two worlds so learnedly? The font is not really easy to read. And learnedly are thrusts, like foolish prophet forth, their words to scorn are scattered, and their mouth are stopped with dust. The fuck is that? Okay. Omar Khayyam, as translated by Edward Fitzgerald, the Rubaiyat. Oh my gosh, I hope it's not all like that because I'm gonna be fucking struggling if I can't even read the font. Upon the shores of night, she sits in a black river, resplendent beneath the artificial mantle of the citadel's torchlit stars. Tread well upon her street, for her beauty exact a price, and her shadows breathe. Her mane shimmers with the impetus of face, and her bosom sight like a passing ghost. Such is Montreal, the quiet city. The mystery of this place escapes the understandings of even the most intuitive. The play cast upon island stage begins a lethal dance dedicated to the harpies battle. What? What? To the harpies battle? Wait. Okay. The dead in the city steel themselves to storms, within and without, a melody so tender to the ears of sweet chaos. The coin of power has been flipped and now plummets downward. So too must the Sabbath of Montreal travel in order to regain control. And should the coin fall too far, whether by design or fate, they may drag everyone down with them. Alright. Do we need that? Table of contents. I'm not gonna read that. Can I unzoom? Introduction, history of blood, geography, and dead life, covens, the chronicles, the Sabbath Inquisitions. Prelude. Oops, no, not yet. Cardinal Strathcona. I don't know if I say it right. But who cares? You'll get my accent after a while, I guess. I would ask how fortune smiles upon you these days, but I know fate has dealt us a cruel blow. The death of my mentor and your colleague, Zoo, has left us bereft. It's an F. Well, oh yeah, of a dear friend and valued champion of the Sabbath. You once asked me if Montreal was still the city of black miracles, and laughed at my hesitation when I could not answer. I fear now that whatever answer I may have formed since those days have been undermined by deliberate attempt to shroud the truth. The death of Thu merely brought certain issues to the fore in the dark time after my induction into the Sabbath. Many were relieved to have weathered the storm. I know now that we merely stood in its eye. So as I'm reading and as I'm living through my own drama, some passages might actually connect with me quite a lot, because those last few years, and especially those last 6 months, have been quite intense. We, in Montreal, are about to be cast back into the capricious nightmare. Zeus' death, I suspect, was only an omen of things to come. When I was asked to tend to my mentor's remains and belongings, I approached the matter with trepidation. Though could do no wrong in my eyes, and I feared, perhaps subconsciously, that assuming such a task would only prove that it did indeed fall to the ultimate weakness. Death yet stilled myself to what had to be done and discovered an odd comfort in the act of sorting through his belongings. That is when I discovered his codes. As you well know, Zoo was fond of artwork. What? Particularly Taoist influenced pieces. Mind blown. He was quite adept at painting landscape, applying a balanced approach to the dynamics of nature. He even taught me how to sorry, I'm taking a long time, but uh, how to interpret paintings, not as reproduction, but as a symbolic representation. You don't know what I'm thinking, but I'm already 3 pages in and not even really full on pages in. It's just the prelude and stuff and the introduction, and I'm already connecting quite a few things. I now suspect that he was not grooming me to appreciate Chinese artworks, but tutoring me in how to decipher an intricate code should any harm befall him. In sorting through Zoo's paintings, I came across an art field with Montreal landscape painted in the Taoist manner. I immediately noticed that the pieces were subtly imbalanced. The yin and yang of features and animal were stitted. Is that two T's? Can't even read. And it's a bit pixelated, so it's not really great. Harmony was skewed. At first, I wonder if this had been Zoo's early failed attempt to perfect his craft, but the style of his brush strokes suggested more recent work. Whether it was inspiration or luck, something in his pieces urged me to visit the site Zoo had depicted in his paintings. It was some time before the first mystery revealed itself to me. His paintings, true to his lessons, were not actual representation but a piece of a Taoist map. Thus, it was through the paintings that I discovered the first of the ledger that Zoo had hidden in the city. I need to do that. I've been doing a lot of things in the game that I'm developing. I'm creating original quests. I'm putting some arts from different people in it to highlight them and hopefully maybe at some point be able to reward them and create something for more than me. But I've been researching and getting inspired by a lot of Taoist philosophy in the last few years, and I'm amazed that it's all connecting in that book written, what, 15 years ago or something like that? I don't even know when it was written. But I'm amazed, and I feel like I will have to do those paintings of different landscapes. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to do that myself, but if I need to command them, to commission them, I will. Some time ago, my friend made a discovery that he shared only with the pages that he wrote. Upon the broken, no, the broke, oh no, see, like I can't even, sorry, you're gonna think I'm fucking dyslexic, but the font is not really the easiest to read once again. Blah blah blah. Some time ago, my friend made a discovery that he shared only with the pages that he wrote upon. He broke the code to the rambling of Jacob the Glitch, the Tremere anti-tribu who is regularly given to visions and speaking in tongues. My gifted mentor had somehow discovered a way to translate Jacob's Babylonian blather. How that must have frightened him. But despite any apprehension he may have felt, Zoo recorded the tremors word in his ledger and hid them, so that no one would know the horrible truth he learned. I do not know what to do, Cardinal. I know more books are hidden in this city, but I have been reticent to retrieve them. Some foreshadows my every step. I cannot evade it. I cannot confront it. But I know that harm will soon befall me. Upon awakening, I know that my lair, has been disturbed while I slumbered. I have taken to resting in the communal heaven, but I fear its walls are not protection against an untimely hand. It has taken me a century to acquire the ledgers that I now possess. Should I be destroyed? They may go unseen for all time. I cannot relate the information that I have learned. It is too complex and important to be discussed so casually. We thought the Kamaila to be the greater threat to our sect. Oh, it's a semicolon, okay. It is not. I am in need of immediate protection. I no longer trust those around me. Zoo's murderer walks among them, and I suspect is the very same person who wishes to visit harm upon me. Please do not hesitate on this matter. I have hidden the paintings and books that I have recovered thus far. The Sabbath cannot afford to be ignorant of this collected gospel. You once asked me if Montreal was still the city of black miracles. Now I can only moan in response. It is blacker than you think. A letter from an unidentified kyanite to Cardinal Strathcona. Chapter 1, Introduction. Oh, and by the way, I have a lisp in French as well, so it's. And I used to live in Montreal, so even my French is not really French anymore. So it's a weird mix of pseudo Quebecer, but not really, with a lisp, still with a French accent, accentuated by the stress of reading that in front of the camera in a font that is barely readable. That's gonna be better now, but yeah. Be intelligent. Um, no, penury, inertness, and grimace. In some strange sort, where the lens portion, see or shut your eyes, said nature peevishly. It nothing skills. I cannot help my case. 'Tis the last judgment, fire, muscular displays. Carson its clouds, and set my prisoners free. Robert Browning. Child Roland to the dark tower came. Okay. And on top of that, having some connections that makes me emotional is probably not gonna help. Why Black Dog? Why not? Montreal by Night is the first in Vampire's series of city setting books to be released under the Black Dog Game Factory imprint. Why break the mold? Why go against tradition? What's so unique about Montreal, of all places, that demands special attention? This is not the Montreal that you might know. This book portrays a city that's tainted not only by the corruption inherent to the world of darkness and the gothic punk milieu, but by the unadulterated evil of the Sabbath. This Montreal is an unabashedly twisted reflection of the real worlds. Thus, this book isn't for the timid, young, easily offended, or squeamish. It wasn't meant to be. It is not simply violent and reprehensible for its own sake. Montreal by Night earns the Black Dog label because of the city's masters and the black arts, and doing the Sabbath's justice is difficult enough within the confines of a typical Worlds of Darkness supplement. The city's kyanites are trapped in a cancerous worm that atrophies around them. They exist in perpetual torment, crushed against the bodies of other squirming infants and poisoned by the hooting toxin issued by a severed umbilical cord. This is the world of darkness. This is Black Dog. This is Montreal by Night. How to use the book. Montreal by Night details the history, kyanites, and intrigues of one of the Sabbath's oldest bastions in North America. In these pages, you will find everything necessary to run a chronicle in the Sabbath city of Montreal. Those familiar with other Vampire by Night books we'll find this one organized a bit differently. The Sabbath does not concern itself with clans to the degree that its Camarilla enemy does. So Kai Knights are grouped by coven rather than by blood lineage. The lifestyle, or rather unlifestyle, of Montreal Sabbath also receive much attention. They largely disdain the mortal world and have their own agendas, both subtle and bloody. Montreal by Night gives a nearly complete picture of the city. These pages are filled with potential allies, mentors, lovers, rivals, and friends. If you're already running a Sabbath Chronicle, your pack or coven could arrive in Montreal for its opening of the litany. In the summer month, or they could arrive for the pack's own reasons. Otherwise, new Sabbath are sired fairly often to stage crusades, replace fallen comrades, or just for the kicks. The appendix also provide information on the Sabbath's Inquisition. To make fool of Montreal by Night, I'm just in my head because I'm thinking about the mistake that I'm doing. I'm thinking about some other stuff. I'm thinking about the game, so I'm like not always focused on the words. So forgive me. Swing. If Mr. Rodriguez would let me finish. To make full use of Montreal by Night, you need Vampire the Masquerade, the Player's Guide to the Sabbath, and the Storyteller's Handbook to the Sabbath. Significant elements are also drawn from the Vampire Player's Guide and the Storyteller's Handbook. None of these books is absolutely necessary, though. The Litany of Blood. The subtitle of Montreal by Night, Litany of Blood, is a reflection of the spiritual nature of the city's Sabbath. The litany is a record that commemorates sect members' achievements, whether as individual, packs, or covens. Through legendary tales, eyewitness reports, and personal stories. As the history of the Sabbath is forged in blood, so too are the records of the litany written upon humankind, vellum and scripted in vitae. The litany is not, however, just a record of the past, but a reminder of Kainite's obligation to his sect and to the sacrifice that makes the Sabbath what they are. The litany is therefore a tie that binds Kainite with more than just the bonds of blood. It is the symbolic heart of the Sabbath, just as Montreal is the spiritual heart of the Sabbath. Wow. Theme and mood. So farewell hope, and with hope farewell fear. Farewell remorse, all good to me is lost. Evil be thou my good. John Milton, Paradise Lost. The central theme of Montreal by Night is faith. Faith is used ironically, not in definition, but in application. Faith among Montreal's Sabbath is a matter of conviction more than of belief, of religion. It is the driving force behind those who would commit murder because they harbor murder. It is this justification of torture in the name of salvation. It explains the unimaginable and is the defense of those who make martyrs of their victims. Tabarnak. Let me fucking tell you. For the Sabbath, faith in the power to accomplish great things, even beyond the confines of Pâques and Voldery. The Sabbath severed the ties of mortality and morality, and filled the resulting void with their own brands of faith. In Montreal, faith is not an unattainable ideal, but a reality, and its consequence can be both impersonal and destructive. Sorry. Fuck, that's gonna be hard. Montreal is the city of enigma. But seriously, every sentence is making sense. What the fuck? If I would tell you every time I hook on something they say because it resonates with le Fruit Defendu, like the onion layer and the enigmas, of course, like enigmas, blah blah blah, in a video game, sure, there's enigmas, but the fucking onion of almost infinite layers, that's what I've been saying for years, saying, oh, there's so many layers to this freaking game. Because I kind of explore a lot of different things. I explore language, I explore philosophy, psychology, um, queerness, perception, meaning, um, what else? Toxic behavior, mental health, manipulative things, like manipulative devices or whatever. Um, um, the seven deadly sins, Gestalt, the dark triad but that's part of psychology of narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellian traits. I explore the Enneagram. So trying to even explain the game to someone is a brain fuck because it doesn't make sense. It does make sense to me because I'm in the center of everything and I understand all the different aspects. Not so much how they work and connect together, but I understand each of them individually. And most people don't know about the Enneagram, don't know about Gestalt, don't know about like the art aspect that I'm trying to put in there. Like even over the last weekend, I was talking to someone to maybe put his art in um, the game as part of art galleries in different venues. There's different artists. Um, and he was like, what do you mean, how do you want to put my art in your game? I'm like, well, let me show you, like as a texture in a venue, blah blah blah. And he was like, oh wow, it's all in 3D. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. And it's all about, I'm connecting the queerness because it takes place around Parc La Fontaine. And so you have the rainbow balls that they put up during diversity, um, the gay pride of the summer, and so you have that. But I also use that, like, I don't match exactly the masquerade because I wanted to be a bit more unique and because I didn't want to have to deal with intellectual property and maybe being sued. And so I kind of, instead of having the regular clans, I have so far six what I call origins, and each of those origins are actually real lore from different locations in the world. Um, and when you actually chew through the dialogues, you have two main choices that are happening right now in the way it's set up that are actually defining that origin, and each origin has a different set of powers ish, but also a different filter, and those different filters um, kind of convey a different perception of reality based on the colors of the rainbow. And so trying to explain all that to people and making puzzles based on the Ishihara test, which is the test that you do when you actually test if you're colorblind or something like that. You remember the dots of different colors, and like depending on which number you see, then we can define if you are um, a specific type of colorblind or not. And so I'm doing puzzles with that kind of stuff because of the different filter that I add when you get your origin defined. It's really a lot of different things, and so it's hard for me to incorporate all those puzzles with all those different things based into quests with, like, I have more than 30 characters, unique characters in the game, and each of them are part of what I call conviction. That's why earlier they was talking about conviction. I'm like, bitch, it's exactly the same vocabulary that they use, and so it's like really mesmerizing. I think that was defined before I read the book, so it's kind of weird. But yeah, it's amazing. It's great. I think I'm on the right tracks. It's just that it takes so much time to do everything because I'm doing the 3D modeling as well. Um, Level design, game design, the coding, the writing. That's why, like, I wanted to start having more art in it, and that's why I started commissioning artists. Um, but I'm recreating also a tarot, an Arcana Major tarot deck, because each card is assigned to one of the main characters, like one of the 21. And so I want to do a kind of game around that as well. And that's why it's super exciting and great, but it's super confusing at the same time. I love it. But this guy over the weekend was like, when I was telling him, yeah, I'm doing all that by myself, he was like, what the fuck, you're a genius. And then 2 minutes later, when I was still explaining more and more shit, he was like, you're insane. And so I was like, yes, a bit of both. Um, but at the same time, that reverbs as well because just in the last build, I asked an artist that I found online that is schizophrenic, and I was like, I really like your art, and I would like to put your art in my art, and therefore kind of build awareness about mental health and artists, because artists, like I was saying about Van Gogh, or like, we don't support those artists that see the world in a different way than, let's say, I was going to say the majority of people, but we are all Malkavian. We all have different perception, we all have different understandings. None of us is normal. That's why when a friend of mine, Tyler, shared something about that today or yesterday, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, we are all Malkavian, we are all crazy. It's just that society makes us only like shuns everyone insanity, so everyone is trying to be matching and fitting in that box and only showing what is socially normative. But I'm like, artists have it already hard. It's really, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of courage to put yourself out there again and again and again and take those slaps in the face. It's so hard, and we need to change the way we approach art because this is what we live for. We all have been forced into industrious, either like you need to be a machine to make capitalism survive. But what do we do in our spare time? We fucking appreciate everything that is about art: reading, movies, music, visuals, video games. Everything that we do for leisure is art, and most of us creating that art are undermined and unappreciated. And you toss a coin like they're oboes, and yet they they create, they dig they pick their own brains and try to deliver all that hard work so you can be entertained. And it's only when it's well put together within the system of capitalism, within that box, that it creates money. And all that money is going where? Not even to the artists, it's going to the stakeholders. I'm so sick of that fucking system. It's so nasty. And yet, we all are so happy to have like that Charlie Chaplin functionality in the giant machine of capitalism, and we dismiss whoever is actually giving us food for thought, escape, escapism, ways to alleviate that pain of the capitalist machine. And those people are being mistreated as fuck. This is the mood. This is the fucking mood. Montreal is a city of enigmas, an onion of almost infinite layers, if you will. Peel, peel that onion, peel away. Do you know that in Montreal there's a subway station called Peel? I don't know if that's put there in purpose, but I'm like, what? Peel away one skin and several more await, seductive in what they hide. I can't even speak anymore because I'm upset now. I'm stressed and I'm upset by all that stupidity of society that is, ugh, so toxic. And that's what I'm trying to work on. Highlighting that toxic attitude. Montreal is called the city of black miracles because of the dark faith of its nocturnal inhabitants. Those who live within its island confines, whether mortal or immortal, should be made to feel as if some terrible force looms just beyond the senses. Should I say more? Of course. That's my fucking job. My ikigai, my mission. Montreal What the fuck? Montreal is also a city of contrasts, where modern skyscrapers tower over old churches and cathedrals. The new and the old world clash, not only for mortals, but for the undead. Mention of the Sabbath conjures images of the crime infested streets of New York, the despair gripped populace of Detroit, the black art of Mexico City, and the moral debauchery of Amsterdam. This modern interpretation of the Sabbath applied to Montreal, but the Kainites also make Montreal a city of knowledge and faith. New York and Mexico City attract the bloodthirsty. Detroit appeals to the downtrodden. Amsterdam lures the abusive. Montreal draws the scholarly and educated among the Sabbath. The problem with the acquisition of knowledge, however, is that it invariably exposes more mysteries. One of the city's mood fits the other. The yin and the yang. If you're on that channel, look at the freaking icon. It's a snake eating an apple representing the yin and the yang. But the snake and the apple are, of course, the snake of knowledge eating the Fruit Defendu, hence the freaking name of the game. Oh my gosh, this is just crazy. Knowledge is therefore power amongst the city's intellectual Kainites. There isn't one amongst them who does not have a stake in some secret or another. The damned. It is wiser to enter Montreal knowing what factions are at play than to enter blindly, which almost invariably leads to final death. The following is by no means a detailed or comprehensive look at the factions of the city, but it is a quick and dirty guide to help newcomers avoid the pitfall of Sabbath maneuvering. Sabbath power structure. Montreal is ruled by both ambition and conflicting vision. The Archbishop of the city is Carolina Valles, a foreigner in the eye of the city's Sabbath. Beneath her in the hierarchy are Montreal's three bishops: the Rose of the Widows' Coven, Lord Ezekiel of the Pack 2517, and Alfred Benezri, the shepherd of Cain. Unfortunately, Archbishop Valles' rules is not supported by our bishop, and this set the stage for a power struggle that could tear the city apart. Most of the city's Sabbath support one of the three contenders, vying for the archdiocese. Carolina Valles has the support of the Rose, but is struggling to retain a failing power and trying not to repeat the same mistakes that plagued her in past appointment. Bishop Ezekiel, representing the bloodlust of many young Sabbath, had gathered the support of several potent covens. Ezekiel's quest is to break away from the dark legacy of his sire, the infernalist Sangri, but he is in danger of following the same path of his rise to power. The final contender in this political foray is Bishop Benezri, a prominent member of the Shepherds, a former inquisitor and proponent of the scholarly ways of Elder Sabbath. Despite his support by the city's more powerful covens, Benezri camp is still I'm really struggling. Is still haunted by his back's error of placing fucking hell, I need to stop because I'm I'm losing it. Of placing the infernally sangre in power some years ago. The blunder this blunder prevents Bishop Benedri from gaining the archdiocese outright. Archdiocese or archdiocese in English? Archdiocese outright. Setting overview. Concordia Salus. Salvation in agreement. City of Montreal. Oh, interesting. Is it really? Montreal is a city unlike any other. Putain, I'm so fucking dyslexic. Can't even spell, can't even talk, can't even read. Its long history and distinguished heritage date back more than 350 years and give it a Europe essence that's unique in North America. Although the city is one of the world's most modern, its past. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, that's the map. Oh. Oh, well, there you go. They didn't even create the map themselves. Pop, pop, pop. It's past. Its past defines it. Many of its buildings were built in the 19th century or earlier, and to this day cast their long shadows from the past into the present. A city of living history, Montreal witnessed the birth of two countries and the end of French colonial presence in North America. Montreal's son and husband fought and died in two world wars, and the survivors returned to a city divided by language differences. The city was the site of the 1967 World's Fair, endured martial law in the wake of the 1970s October crisis, and so federal troops returned during the Hoka crisis of 1990. Montreal, now a fragile and economically sullen city, faces a new millennium that promises to be just as exciting as its past. Montreal is an island city located on the St. Lawrence River and is home to just over 3 million people, although only about 1 million live on the island itself. The city is founded on the pride of its citizens, not only because it's one of Canada's leading metropolises, but because of its status as the second largest French-speaking city in the world. Montreal Montreal is not only a cultural center, but a financial and industrial one. Four of Canada's largest banks have headquarters in Old Montreal. The city's shores are home to the largest inland port in the world, and Montreal is a port of call for many Canadian and American vessels. The island houses a number of industries, primarily oil refineries because of its proximity to the St. Lawrence Seaway. Montreal has also become the site of more than half of the Canadian aeronautical industry and other high-tech businesses. However, given the recent recession and current political insecurity the city suffers, Many of the leading industries are leaving and or downsizing, contributing to a high unemployment rate and resulting in an increase in the number of people living in poverty. Unfortunately, the current conservative political swing only promises to make matters worse for those unable to survive on an already overtaxed social security and welfare system. Montreal's layout is unusual for a North American city. Its growth through the years has resulted from the annexation of smaller communities, which, instead of being completely consumed, became virtual cities within a metropolis. Montreal is also a vast multicultural community with only old stock, those of English descent, and Pure Lane, those of French descent, but large numbers of Irish, Jewish, Greek, Italian, German, Ukrainian, Chinese, Hungarian, Portuguese, Haitian, Vietnamese, and Middle Eastern inhabitants. Each community gives its district a distinctive ethnic atmosphere, which contributes to the city's cosmopolitan flavor. I miss you, Montreal. The Sabbath and the mortal world. Most of Montreal's Sabbath's immortals as midnight snacks or amusing toy. The kind night rulers, however, realize that humans are valuable resources of power and pleasure. The prominent vampires in the city are all exercise a dark influence over the city's populace, corrupting human souls and violating bodies. The Widows, a coven of Cathari pleasure queens, holds a depraved court in its downtown club, driving visitors to acts of complete perversion. Archbishop Carolina Valles holds sway over the halls of power, guiding community leaders and corporate presidents to subjugate everything they can, turning the public figures into faithful thralls. Montreal Sabbath also enjoy corrupting local priests and other clergy, driving them to debasement by playing upon their private desires. The Shepherds of Cain, Montreal's most prestigious covens, are masters of this corruption, professing vampiric redemption through an understanding of evil. The shepherds guide mortal clergy to a similar mindset, prevented from achieving true evil by the shackles of mortality. Ah, having teary eye doesn't help reading, especially when you have that light in your face. Preventing from achieving true evil by the shackles of mortality, these mad priests seek out the Sabbath's embrace or end their lives in acts of murderous suicide and take many of their parishioners screaming into oblivion. Traveling to Montreal. Montreal is easily accessible by road, air, and sea. It has two airports. The first is Dorval, which is located in the city itself. The second is Mirabel International Airport, which is located an hour's drive. Sorry, an hour's drive to the north. The latter facility has fallen largely into disuse since most international flights to Canada land in Toronto. Although the city port caters especially to industrial shipping. A few cruise ship dock, allowing foreign vampires to travel to the city in relative safety. Getting around Montreal. Located partially on an island, Montreal is not spread out like most North American cities. The downtown area, which includes some of Montreal's oldest neighborhood, is easily accessible by an elaborate system of highways and bridges. During non peak traffic hours, it usually takes 30 minutes to get from the suburb to downtown. The island proper benefits from one of North America's best and most extensive, although expensive, public transit system. The subway, called the metro, yeah, allows access to nearly all important areas, and buses ser- service areas beyond the system. Public transportation and the relatively small size of the island combine to facilitate travel. Let's go to language. Language is a critical issue among the mortals of Montreal. The city is sharply divided between those whose mother tongue is English, who are called Anglophone, French, known as Francophone, or neither, the allophone. I didn't know that. Linguistic differences reflect different histories and serious political rifts. Most Anglos and allophones staunchly support the federal system, while many francophones call for increased power or outright independence for Quebec. For the Sabbath, language issues are viewed largely as legacies of mortal weakness. Ethnic origin is rarely considered important. Most Sabbats simply consider language a convenience. They understand both French and English and converse in whatever tongue they find most useful. However, some Sabbats, such as the nationalist Marie-Hélène, a member of Archbishop Carolina Vasquez Pack, do take language seriously and always look down on those who do not share their cultural heritage. If you don't know, now you know. Festivals. Montreal is known worldwide as host to many festivals. Given the city's harsh winters, festivals are staged during the summer months and draw a large number of tourists. Many, not knowing the city, wander the streets, unaware of the dangers that lurk in the shadows. Despite the festive atmosphere, a number of people disappear each year. We have the International Fireworks Festival from June to early August, the Festival International de Jazz, the Montreal Jazz Festival, held in late June to early July, the Just for Love Festival, and at the end of July, le Festival Juste pour Rire, the Montreal World Film Festival in early August, le Festival Mondial du Film de Montréal, the festival the Festival International de Cinéma Fantastique, International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival held in the fall, and the International New Dance Festival early fall. The last two I didn't really know about them. Maybe they don't exist anymore. I'll have to double check when that book has been written because being able to know what probably disappeared after the book was written would be interesting to know. Vital statistics. Population on the island of Montreal 1 million plus. No, that's a bit not really well formatted. The whole Montreal urban community, which includes both the South and North Shore, Longueuil and Laval, 3 million plus. Climate. Montreal is characterized by long winters, which typically last from December to April. Temperatures vary from 32 to minus 40 Fahrenheit. Oh. What? Really? That doesn't make sense. Making kyanites susceptible to freezing if they stay outdoors for extended periods of time. In the summer, temperature can climb as high as, okay. So from minus 40 Fahrenheit to plus 110 Fahrenheit during summer, which is from minus 30 to plus 35, 40 now during summer. And climb as high as 90, 110 during summer. In the winter, the sun sets at approximately 4 p.m. and rises around 7 a.m. And during the summer, it sets well after 9 p.m. and rises around 5 a.m. Yep. Oops. And here's the subway, le métro. You have some new stations going from Henri Bourassa to, I can't even remember now. Anyway, Côte Vertu, and those are new stations, and they were not there at the beginning that I was there. They were built only in the last 2 years that I was living there, so I barely even, what's the other side of Côte Vertu and Honoré Beaugrand? Oh no, it's on the Green Line. And so yeah, they have colors. So this one there is blue. This one going from the west, northwest to downtown to northeast is orange, and the one going from southwest to northeast is green, and that's the yellow one. And I can't wait to go home in Saint-Henri. I've lived around Frontenac. I've lived around Frontenac, Sherbrooke, Papineau, Berry-UQAM, and Saint-Henri. And I miss my home. Okay, I think that's enough. I'm struggling to keep going, so I will come back. Ooh. Oh, well, I finished chapter 1 anyway, so that's a good way to stop. When I'll do chapter 2, it will be about the history of blood. So don't forget to subscribe. Sorry for my highly emotional state and my struggle to keep my eyes dry and to keep myself able to sleep, but that's just the way it is. I'm quite raw. I don't like to play games. Well, I like to play games, but not emotional games. Well, if the game is emotional, yes, but not. I'm pretty transparent with my emotions. That's what I'm trying to say. So I will leave it at that because it's been an hour 14, and I will actually have a listen to see how shit it is. I hope you had a good time. I probably will redo it because that's interesting to me, and I will probably try to um, improve the next iteration and maybe do some drawings and some illustration to help with comparing whatever is said in the book and whatever I'm putting in the game to help making you understand. But for now, I will leave it at that. Have a good night.